morning, viewers, and a very warm welcome to the Sunday special episode of Grooming Daughters. It's a pleasure to connect to all of you on a Sunday morning. Today's guest is Nidhi Modi Chheda. She's the director of Modi Group. She's a mother and a successful entrepreneur with decades of experience in automobile. Today, she is the face of Modi Group. She has excelled in automobile domain and is an epitome of knowledge and motivation. She has been leading the frontline operations in automobile industry for more than 10 years, and according to her, it is a vital for everyone to have a unique ideas and understanding of dynamic of changing market trends. She is keen in learning new things and being creative in what she does is her passion. Welcome, Nidhi. It's pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a pleasure to come back to SPGen always.
We also have a Professor Hiten Mochala here today, and he teaches strategy to GFMB students under SPGen School of Global Management. He's also an entrepreneur from last 28 years. Hiten sir, good morning. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sabina. And good morning, all the viewers. This time, as you must have noted, the session has been in the morning, and that is what we propose to do going forward. So welcome all of you. As introduced by Sabina, we have this wonderful young lady, Nidhi Modi, and she handles her automobile business. They are into dealerships, very, very large dealership business handled by her. So welcome, Nidhi. Thank you for being with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure's mine, sir.
So Nidhi, coming to your business, can you speak about your business? How your father started your business? I remember that, during the conversation that he started from a very small place from Gwalior, and that's how you guys moved to Mumbai. How was this all journey about? How was this business set up?
We've been in dealership business, I think, for decades now. My grandfather started it somewhere in Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh with his two brothers. Further, the business got divided and then we moved on to Bombay. But we had a legacy starting from my forefathers and now today with us in Bombay. We moved on in Bombay in 1980, 81. And then on, we started the expansion in Bombay with further division of businesses between the cousin brothers. So it's a very, very long journey. We've had decades of experience when it comes to dealership, and I think there's nothing that's left behind, from trucks to tractors to two-wheelers to rickshaws and now cars. I think we've done it all.
Great. So it's like you are the third generation who is joining this business, correct?
Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. So then, what made you join this family business? You are a third generation. What inspired you? What motivated you? What you thought? नहीं तो फिर और भी कुछ कर सकते थे, right?
Absolutely. So I think the journey goes back ever since I was born. I think it seems like a story, but it is a story in itself. My uncle and my dad started business in Bombay in 1980, like I said, and then we started with two-wheeler business and so on and so forth in a city of Thana, not typically Bombay, but in Thana. That's where we started to develop business into tractors and then further to four-wheelers. Now, for us, what had happened is when we were very young, it's kind of a picnic spot because 24/7 parents are always in office. You see dad not being there most of the day. Even Sundays used to be half day then. कि मैं lunch तक आ जाऊंगा, that's how it used to be. So as kids, me, my sister, my cousins, we've learned to go to office every Sunday morning just to spend more time with him and to understand what's happening in office. I think that was the learning that our parents gave us very early. They took us there, not just that we wailed away time there, but he took us to the cash counter. He told us to count money. He did some filing with us. He made us interact with the sales consultants. He made us sit in the cars while we couldn't afford it then, right? So that kind of interaction was something that prepared us, I think, to get into this at a very first place unconsciously. And I think then it went on. I mean, with the kind of experience, his goodwill in the market, the kind of interactions we've had with him in his meetings, his trips. We had some company trips that we came up with, some award functions that he took us to. I think it just kept building on to a level where it did build an interest in me to get into business. Why just me? I think most of us, like we have five of us, three of my cousins and two of us at home, all five of us got very keen into business. We all are bachelors in business management, and finally two three of us have continued business. Rest are still working on themselves to come back to business. But I think that was the family kind of exposure that we all got to enjoy what they were doing, enjoy what we are doing, and grow and make others grow in business.
I think you raised a very nice point, and this is something which is applicable to most family businesses. It's usually thought that over generations the next incoming generation is not so keen on the business.
Yeah.
And I think there is some very deep learning from this, from what you said. Is can we as parents actually start involving our children much early age into our business, just for an exposure, just for an idea, share our enjoyment, share our happiness, share our experiences with them. And that is something which inspires, something that has happened with you.
Absolutely.
So, Nidhi, and I remember we discussed this, you said that, you were always, when you were a child, you were less confident, you were an introvert, you were very submissive in terms of personality.
Yes.
How over a period of time all this has changed?
Must first of all, I mean, it's very basic, but family comes first, and I think family played an important role. But I would really like to tell you all, how did this family play a very different role. I think I actually sit down sometimes to think that if it was not them, it would be really difficult for me to come to this level. And starting from my dad, giving you one brief that I could not discuss with you yesterday. My dad also, while he was from a background, a very typical background of Madhya Pradesh with a Hindi medium kind of education, but his father was always kind of a leader in himself. My grandfather, right? He was a mayor in the city of Gwalior, so he had those leadership skills in him that, and also very upcoming and a changing kind of attitude with the nature, with the world, was something that I have seen ever since he was working, right? And that is something that came up to dad. He was very welcoming to ideas. He was very open to listening. While his education didn't support his exposure, but all in all, the way he was brought up was with so much freedom that he had it in all of them, I think all the cousins, that they would give us that little free hand to think. Probably as girls, you don't get that chance to do sometimes, but yes, that initial push of thinking what you want to do was always there with him. Then if I look at my mom, she had a very different kind of brought up. She was born in the city of Bombay, and she was educated in management, then with NMIMS, NM. There was no NMIMS, NM. And being from Bombay, staying in Juhu, however, from a very middle class family, her exposure was immense. She knew that there was a world beyond what they used to do and how they used to live. And she fantasized it. She always told me, "Mere mein itna talent, I could have done amazing things in the world. Tum log to kuch bhi nahi ho." If I was sitting there, I think I would have touched the sky. And Samish sir can actually agree to this, that she fantasizes and she can really do it. She has it in her. So I think the personality, that dominant personality with what she, would speak and push us, was, I think, a very big move for all of us. With mothers being a little, sitting, taking a back seat, sometimes that really is an hindrance for a girl to be brought up. A mother is only the one who can really push the girls a step forward. That confidence, that I'm there with you, look back on me whenever you want to. Only that kind of thought is enough for us to kind of take a step ahead. Then further, I think one more very a support that came in, which I never thought of, actually realized when I was talking to you yesterday, was my elder cousin. She was asked, or she was allowed to move on to be a part of first batch of BMS then. I mean, she's 5 years elder to me. That was the first I think first lot of BMS that started by NM, and she joined that course. When she did join that course, she used to travel from Thana all the way to NM to do her management. So I think coming out of your shell, letting the girls at least study, having that open mind, saying that ठीक है ना 3 साल you can manage, you work out, you do your hard work, and then we'll see. So I think that was also a little starting point that the family realized that for education you can travel, for education you can let the girls move ahead, at least for the heck of making them independent, having a very independent kind of thought process. So I think that was also a very subtle thing that happened in the family, which gave me a push to move on into, or give me that little backup to talk about myself, to talk my mind and tell them that yes, I want to go ahead and work.
So the way you mentioned your in case of your father and in case of the development of your father, your grandfather was the one who initiated it. He was a role model because he was a mayor, as you said, and he exhibited some extraordinary leadership skills and qualities, which had a rub-off effect on your father. And same way with your mother, though she was born in a middle class family, she always had her own dreams, and that's how she pushed you ahead. In that case, can you think of something? What kind of role both of them have in turn played in your life now today?
When
Any real life incidences, any practical situations, circumstances where you felt that wow, my parents are pretty progressive.
Yeah, so when I finished, or I was in my 10th grade, I was not asked literally because I think my exposure was quite minimal then. But yes, we discussed that how do you want to take it ahead, and that was very obvious. Apna business hai. So till you get married, at least what I can at least expect is have your education into management, and that's how the family's been brought up, and business is in our blood. We should be doing that. And then similarly with my grades being good, I was asked, where do you want to go? So with the kind of exposure then I had, I said, acha main Mulund ki koi college dekh leti hu, or Podar or Ruparel will be the best take for me. With that little mindset, then when I spoke, my mom's like, really, I came out of NM and Mitibai, and you want to stick around to these kind of colleges, meaning not that these colleges are bad, meaning that the exposure, that the world that we live in is all in this area. Our business, our family, our society was here. So, her intention of telling me is look wide, look at more options, look out of the box. Don't look at the option that the world is thinking for you, right? So
Right.
this was one very big change and a very big decision that the family made with 2 daughters in the house, that you can leave us and go to a faraway college. You can move on and stay probably with your uncle to make your dreams come true, and push me. My brought up in Thana was not my choice, right? So when I went to this school, which was one of the best in Thana, but had a very typical professional mentality, as it was dominated by Maharashtrians, right? So I didn't have those kind of friend circle. I was anyway very submissive and introvert as a person, because I had really strong personalities around me. So I think this big change that came in my life was when I moved from Thana to a college in Juhu. So I think the world started, the whole exposure, my learning started from them. And both of them, in their own little way, balanced it to, kind of push me to do this.
Yeah, so I think your mother's role was very, very vital in case of helping you decide and expose you to colleges which you never thought of, right? And kind of education and the circle around you. What about your father? What kind of role has he played? You mentioned something about he would take you to awards and everything. So what kind of role did he play?
I don't know if this makes sense. I used to find it very weird, guys. I mean, there was this one time when, as children, the men would dominate this automobile world, right? It's a passion for the men. It's never thought to be a passion for the women. And he would tell us, "अच्छा, आज ना हमारा award function है. आज हमारा कोई बड़ी meeting conference है. Why don't you join us?" They've invited us with family. And we used to be a little awkward because 80% of the men would come alone because they want to have fun, they wanted to chill, they wanted to have them space, they wanted to drink, and they didn't want anybody around, right? And that's when my mom would say, shall we all go together? I'm really proud of you all, and why should I not take you all? And coincidentally, he was not into those other kind of things that, I want to have my own space, I want to have a drink on my own. He was a very family person, so he made sure that he took mom and us along at those times. And we were that one weird lot of people would always be with the family. But I think that played very differently on our minds. We got to interact with really senior professional people very early. They would push us, say, "Arey वाह, आपको बेटा नहीं तो क्या हुआ? ये लोग आपका काम संभालेंगे." Those kind of conversation at a very early age keeps playing on your mind, that people expect out of you. People feel you're talented. People think you can do this, right? And then he would have conversation, नहीं नहीं लड़कियों को इतना थोड़ना है, फिर बड़े हो जाएंगे, शादी कर देंगे. And that's when the conversation would continue, saying that, क्यों, why can't you let them do? Which world are you staying? The West has gone ahead. So these kind of little things played in the mind of parents. It kind of pushed them with their thoughts. They always believed that we could do it, right? But all parents need that extra push. They fear the society, they fear what people will think.
Absolutely.
That why should we do this, right? So that little things that worked in the minds of my parents at that time, think that kya galat hai, where are we asking the world from them? And a couple of years into business doesn't mean that they can't get married or they cannot grow into a good human beings or a good mother or a good daughter-in-law and so on and so forth. So I think all of this played very well on us. Going to office in a very initial time, then attending these kind of functions, meeting very senior people of the industry, somebody who takes decision for a company across India coming up to you saying that kaise ho beta, I know the way you are, you're going to grow up to do something very, very different. And if you're in problem, always tell me. Papa ne na bol diya to mujhe bata dena, main unko डांट दूंगा. So those things kept building up to a point where we started fantasizing it. We thought, wow, it also has some glamour to it beyond just selling cars. And there's going to be so much around it where you build up your own personality and people would look up to you. And we would see our dad go up, take those little appreciations award in front of hundreds of other dealers, probably finance companies, insurance companies, coming and saying, भाई आप तो बहुत बड़े हो गए, आपने तो बहुत मेहनत कर ली, एंड मैंने आपके साथ 10 साल पहले वो एक छोटी सी डीलरशिप में काम किया था, look where you are today. So these kind of little things, appreciation to us or our family, I think is a very big motivation. And I think these little pushes are something that helps you to take a step forward. You want to jump into it. क्या होगा आप डूब जाएंगे ना, बस उससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं होना. So let's try our hand at it. I think these things played very positive. It matured us too early into business.
Brilliantly said, Nidhi. Brilliantly said. I must say that. And it's all about risk taking. Business is about taking risk and calculated risks. And it's important to inspire your own children to also learn to show them how to take risks in life. But you mentioned that in this award ceremony, you used to meet these senior people, and when they used to talk to your father, they would say, "अच्छा आपको बेटा नहीं है, बेटी है, तो अच्छी ही बात है, बेटी को business में ला सकते हैं आप." But tell me honestly, Nidhi, was that really that easy for you to get inducted into business? Did you face any challenges as a woman, acceptance level in your business?
Isn't it obvious, sir? I think you face it straight starting from SP Gen, where we have such a short set of girls who join into the
Absolutely.
And I think while the course is going on, actually they kind of disappear with time, not from the course but from the business background. I think that's what it is in India for sure. Even today, while we have so many women into the professional line, but businesses are kept away from them. They feel बिजनेस में थोड़ा लड़कियों को लाना है, लड़कों का क्या होगा, व्हाट विल माय कजिन थिंक, व्हाट विल अदर्स थिंक, फिर शादी करके ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस आ जाता है, बहुत इंडिपेंडेंस आ जाता है. तो दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स कीप प्लेइंग. एंड आई थिंक स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम दैट, like I told you, I had this little good bad experience when I saw my elder sister grow up, my cousin grow up, and she was also somebody who was a little dynamic, wanted to do a little difference, wanted to work a couple of years, maybe not too big as a dream, but she was pretty, she was very upfront, she was overconfident. And while she turned 21 and she finished her BMS, and she said, I want to work. And though my family said no problem, but it's an age to get married and we will look out for boys for you. So she said, okay, if you can wait, great. If not, I still want to simultaneously work. And she did go out and work for 6-8 months, but because she was a first in the family and everybody's attention was on her, she got married very soon. So, her dreams kind of went down the drain because she got into a really big family, fancy living, and she was told, just enjoy this whole space and nothing doing, and so on and so forth. So I think that little learning helped me to understand that if I give myself time, and if I think of what I want to do in future, anyway, I have a couple of years to kind of prove myself into this. I may not be given all the time or all the, across years together to prove myself. So if I have to prove myself in a very short while, I need to do it really fast. So the minute I was graduating out, I'd already enrolled for FMB in SPGen. And that was my first move. And by the time I got my result of BMS, I'd already taken admission, right? So I just could go back and say, look, I got an admission and I'm just 20. Why don't you give me 2-3 years to prove myself and, study further? The world's changing. And because they were left with very few options, they said, ठीक है, अभी छोटी है, 2-3 साल है, कर लेगी, साथ में we'll see if we want to start looking for guys. In this whole journey, and with an interactive program that SPGen had, sorry, it's not meant to be kind of talking about SPGen, but it played a very integral role in my life because it was extremely practical, and I got to work with my studies, and that was the turning point because my family didn't realize that I actually got involved in the business through studies. And when I got involved, I got so deeply involved that it was difficult for them to get me off. So that little turning point that I kept going really fast, moved into the business really soon, took very initial, very big challenges from my uncle. That time my uncle was I was reporting to my uncle. He was my head. So taking some few big challenges and proving it within a year and a half with all the support of the professors also, I think they actually have worked very, very closely with me. And going back and crying out to them saying that, look, as a girl, everybody is bullying me and how do I handle it? And the HR professor actually spent 2-3 hours kind of counseling me, saying that this is how it is. You have to live with it. Don't try to change the world. You just need to ignore and go ahead. And I think, yes, that's where things changed. I got into business really soon. I was 20 when I was already looking after a very small setup that we had in Goregaon, and took up a very big challenge of making it a huge 3 year facility immediately in 6 months' time. And coincidentally, everything went in my favor, and it turned out to be like a super bumper venture that we started off. And I got some presents. I started to be known. People started looking up to me. So while I was looking for marriage proposal, I was so involved in business that they knew that I've actually tasted blood. This girl is not coming out of it now. that's the journey that I had when it.
So Nidhi, you mentioned that you had issues with your HR department. Can you elaborate? And were these issues primarily because you were a woman boss, a lady boss?
I've had very, very, on a lighter note, very quick incidences where I entered and my uncle said, बेटा तू पढ़ने आई है, you're a trainee, तुझे कुछ नहीं आता है. Though you come, as a boss, but you're not a boss, right? So here's the general manager, and why don't you just report to him and do your learnings? Till you learn stuff, you have to report to him. Sorry, this place is really small. I wouldn't have any cabin for you. Please manage, sitting outside with a sales consultant and about it. So all these things always have a flip side, negative and a positive side. But that was my entry to the office, right? And couple of weeks, I was so useless in the office, and I didn't know what to do because he didn't give me any work. And the work was happening. I said, what am I to do? I don't have decisions. I don't know my work. Nobody has kind of inducted me in the system. That was my first experience. Then as gradually I started to talk to people, they're like, acha madam, ye sab DMS. So, when I entered, this was, the IT systems were kind of growing, right? And that time we were dealers of Hyundai. Hyundai had started this drive of creating a huge SAP, which needed to be introduced with all the dealers. So there came a time where, one day dad took me along in one of the company meetings and said, आप इसको समझाइए, इसको ऐसे भी कुछ काम नहीं है. She will drive this in my business, right? And I got some training there and getting back, and I'm telling the team, look, we need to get, computer savvy. Let's start putting entries into the system. Let's not do manual work. And like, मैडम आप कितने दिन हो, क्यों ये सब में घुस रही हो, हम सालों से काम कर रहे हैं, टारगेट पूरे कर रहे हैं, यू नो व्हाट हैव यू टू डू विद दिस. हाँ ठीक है आप कुछ अच्छा सिखा रही हो, गुड फॉर यू, पर हमारे पास इतना टाइम नहीं है. एंड यू वुडंट बिलीव, दिस वाज लाइक अ शॉकर टू मी. For so many days, out of that that stubbornness, I said okay आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, ठीक है मैं तो फालतू की बैठी हूँ, give me your entries, I'm going to put it all in the system, right? To win over even a consultant who was meagerly getting 8,000 rupees right then, I had to spend minimum 2 months to win over them as a friend, forget working with them. So I thought as a woman you never had it easy. It didn't come like अच्छा ये तो बॉस है, हम बोलेंगे नहीं बोलेंगे, ये तो इधर ही बैठना है और इसकी तो सुननी पड़ेगी, बाकी अपनी जॉब गए. उनको ये लगा कि उनके ताऊजी भी उनको ये बोल रहे हैं कि आप कुछ दिन के मेहमान हो, तो let us use her to the extent we can and let her go happily. So I think these incidences kept growing, and you wouldn't believe, I just told you, even it's been 14 years now, and even 3 months back I had an experience when a very senior guy from the industry, don't want to name him, not from Bombay, from outside Bombay, came in for an interview absolutely on his own, right? We'd not invited him also. Saying that, I've been following your group for a very long time, and then I messaged Mr. Modi that I want to meet him for some work. And, there's so much scope of work which we can do with one another. And he told me to meet you. And I said, yeah. He said, no, but I really want to work with him. And he said this, right? I said, yeah, so I take care of the recruitments and I understand you want to work with him and I'll put in a word, yeah, but we need to discuss how things can go ahead with both of us as a team. And I was
so what you're indirectly trying to explain is that he was not very happy to give interview to you.
No, absolutely not. He almost rejected. He didn't even carry his resume, by the way. He just came, sat across. Kya baat karni hai, madam? I have so many years of experience. The world knows me, right? And I was like, okay, what have you been doing? Kahan kaam kar ye wo? And then I said, do you want to ask me anything? I mean, you're at a senior level. If you have some queries, you can go on and ask me. I said, madam, you're pregnant. Congratulations. I said, thank you. This is your first child? I said, no, this is my second child. How many months? I said, it's 7 months. Oh my God, you should relax. What are you doing in office? I said, my house is like 5 minutes away. I have enough health and I'm quite healthy today. So, till I can be, I don't want to take a step back. Acha, but फिर तो बच्चा होने के बाद 6-8 महीना तो you can't come to office, right? You can't look into operation. You really need to give them time. And it's your second baby, I said, yeah. No, but why you all have to do so much? People like us are there. You can just sit back, you can sit back, relax, have a good time with your children for at least a couple of years, and leave it to us. We are heavily professional. इतने सालों से इतनी कंपनियां handle की है. We will not give you any chance of kind of coming back and complaining. And you are there at the back end. कभी भी कुछ भी होगा, you can update me, guide me as and how you want. But why don't you just take a step back and do this? And it came like a slap on my face. I said, look, man, I mean, I've not invited you. I didn't call you for an interview. You walked in with your interest. And you're just slapping back on my face saying that I should not be working. So this is something which is ongoing. If I decide that this is going to play on my mind and that this is going to demotivate me, I think I would have died a million times in this 14 years. So such small incidences which needs to be ignored time and again. Otherwise, women cannot work. I've had and this is to do with professional. There are other ways of putting down or bullying women that happens every single day. They'll spoil their name in terms of work, quality of work. We've been told that you do not discipline your women employees. They come at any time. So that flexibility is something that's always questioned. Also, the authoritative nature is not kind of taken very positively. The senior men in the system are always feeling awkward. Kya unhone mujhe chilla diya sabke beech mein? This is not happening. So that gender inequality still stays. It's existed. But till you don't become them and give them the confidence that we're doing it together and you're not taking away their credit, I think that's the only thing that can help you to grow, and it's continuous. I don't think a single day has been flawless. If I sit to give you experiences in 14 years, I may have 4,000 experiences. So it's ongoing, but I think I enjoy every bit of it. It's great to know that people feel challenged with you. The minute you start liking it that way, you're going to enjoy it.
I think for all the viewers, And Nidhi mentioned this very interesting thing, and which is if she would have bothered so much, she would have died a million times in last 14 years. And I think this is important because in case if the gender bias exists and persists across, throughout all the interviews that we have taken so far of young women, matured women, another important thing is very clear that they have realized that if you cannot change outside, start changing inside. Become strong, and as Nidhi mentioned, try to challenge them, try to be a part of them, and try to give them a confidence that you can do it. It's so simple, right? But many times, more often than not, a lady will break down and she'll give up. But here, all the interviews that we have conducted, they've never broken down, they've never given up. They've faced it, they've happily accepted it, and then they've become a part of everyone. So I think brilliantly put, Nidhi. uh, you mentioned that you were second time pregnant when you took this interview, right? Which means by this time you had one child, the second child was in the being, and obviously you were married. So what about getting married? What about managing so-called expectations from the in-laws, husband?
Yeah. So, say destiny, say a little plan, but because I started loving work, I think in my mind I had some plan for myself, right? So, coincidentally, I must say, when destiny came in front of me, I had already chosen a partner, and he was already from FMB. So that was that easy way that came my way automatically, right? I got married in 2010, right? And he is also from a professional background, I mean, a business background, and that kind of helped me kickstart. But like any other family, my in-laws are orthodox. They're less exposed, great human beings, but they live in their nutshell. When I moved on to their house, the first thing was like, beta, all help will be given, but ghar to you only have to handle. And we understand you've done so much for last 5-6 years, but beta, we may not be extremely happy if this continues for too long, because aage chal ke bacche honge, ghar aage badhega. So that will keep playing on your mind. So very subtly these things were put up. I wouldn't say they were upfront, they were not even arrogant, but when you talk, the kind of feelings that they have about you working, right? uh, a couple of days passed. I wouldn't even say months. It was my fifth or sixth day, and I felt useless in the afternoon because I had all the help and I had no work, at least during that 1 to 6 kind of time in the day. And I went up to my husband saying that none of y'all are there. Either you take me to your office or give me that time for myself. I'll finish whatever's required at home as per the expectation and move. And the next day, when he spoke to my mom-in-law, she was not very happy, obviously, because they have not had that kind of exposure from their family. So she was like, nahi, nahi, this will only keep increasing, the demands only increase. And finally, to get keep the family together becomes a very difficult thing. So she said, I don't know, I have no response to this, but I'm not too sure about it. And my husband, being a little strong-minded, he went back and said, let's catch up together today evening and discuss. And when we sat up together and put in saying that, whatever little expected in terms of home errands, I'm going to take care of it. But I need my time to go back and kind of work for myself, for my own satisfaction. That's about it. And my office is like 10 minutes away. I'll manage the timings. And then my father-in-law was like, it's absolutely fine. We'll try and adjust a little, but you should, have something of your own, something that you like, that you do. Otherwise, you're going to get bored. Because my mom-in-law was into God. She was more into that scripture. So she kind of did this every day. So that was her pastime. So he said, if that's not what you want to do, you can go ahead and do this. And I had an allocated time. I typically works exactly at 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, when it was an alarm in my office, when my staff, 8 of them, would just turn up at my cabin and say, 6 baje, y'all get lost. Now you go away. Otherwise, you can't come back tomorrow for work. That was that initial pressure we took on our own. I don't think families make it so difficult, but because we are very young and we're quite nervous and we don't want anything to go wrong, you push your limits. And that's what happened. So during that time, I used to work typically 1 to 6, trying to continue this as much as I could. Gradually it started building up. I could manage my quality time out of it. People would make sure that everything was set up during those 6 hours so that the best could come out of me at that point of time. So yes, so families the way we were brought up was very different between me and my husband. And they've had some other initial, I must say, financial issues, learnings, probably even joint families and stuff like that. That came out of their expressions when I said I want to work. They did understand. My mother-in-law used to keep telling me, "Dekh, tu independent hogi, to dekh how people look at you, and I'm not so independent. How the family looks at me." So that understanding was there, but that acceptance was not there. She didn't want to accept that in my house, if I'm at home, why is she out? And that's very basic. I think whether it's said or not said, it's always a matter of a problem in every house. Yeah, it could be between mother-in-law or daughter-in-law, two sisters, two sister-in-laws, could be very, very different in different situations. But it is persistent, and it's a biggest troublemaker to kind of go ahead and prove yourself.
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head. And most of the times, the understanding is always there, but not the acceptance. Very, very well put. And you identified that, additional small extra space within that day that you had to actually follow your passion and to do things that you desired to do. That was a great thing. But at the same time, this is on one side. What about your children? By this time, you have two children. How difficult or how manageable it is to juggle between a very, very young child or a children and business and your passion?
Okay, so while I kept saying my mom was very supporting.
And also let me add to this, Nidhi. Mother always has this guilt factor, a working mother. कि हम काम करते हैं, we are working, बच्चे छोटे हैं, they need me. So that guilt is always there, no matter how best you try to manage, right? So my first question again is how to manage this, how to manage guilt also.
Yeah. So giving you the experience right away, it's a Sunday morning, and to go to Facebook Live, I had to move on from my house to my father's house so that I don't feel guilty that the kids are playing around. They want me to be with them, and I'm not able to reach out. So guilt is something that's never going to go away. It's a state of mind. And I think as your kids grow, it's only going to diminish because you're going to see them grow into young, strong, passionate, dedicated, focused individuals. See, a parent's role in kids or children's brought up is extremely important, and we are privileged lot of the society. We're not professionals, right? We're into business. We can manage our time. I think I could come a long way because I managed my time. I did not get off my responsibility. I didn't tell dad, okay, कल से मैं 3 चीज नहीं देखूंगी. He said, तेरे को 2 घंटा काम करना है या 15 घंटा काम करना है. The work that's given to you is your work. You do it at 12 in the night or you do it at 4 in the afternoon is your lookup. Right? So this kind of support from family did help. But yes, vice versa, I must also tell you, it didn't come easy to me because even my parents being so supportive, they didn't want to come in my family life. They were very, very against the fact that I leave the kids behind. They did not take it up as a point saying that रोज हम उनको babysitting करेंगे और तू आराम से काम कर ले. They kept me on the edge every day. They said, अच्छा आज meeting है, बच्चों को कहाँ रखेगी? हम तो नहीं हैं घर पे. You manage. Either you take them along or you manage doing a WhatsApp call or you do whatever. We're not, and you're not going to ignore your kids. So actually my mom was the one who made me guilty every morning saying that काम कर ले, but बच्चों को रास्ते पे मत छोड़ना. I think that was a trigger. When my elder one was 4 months old and I started work again, I took him to office. That time I had an office in Goregaon. We had a Ford dealership. What I did was next to my cabin was my dad's cabin. He would rarely come and I used to solely handle it. So I said, when he comes, I'm going to give away my cabin to him and I can sit outside for a while. And I converted his cabin, which was not more than 150 square meter. And I moved it into a creche, literally a creche. And I had a bunk bed there. I had swing inside. I had a small slide. I had a ball pool. And I had everything that my son would need to be there for enjoying. What I would do is in the morning, I'd pick up 3 courses of his meal alone if required. Or when I had to feed, I would just go there and feed him in between intervals, take a break, spend some time with him, have a maid and a support otherwise around me, and look after him. Also kind of, I was actually, first time mother. So you feel, oh my God, kuch kar degi, ye kar degi. So I used to have this camera on top of his head. Then I had a small window between our two cabins so that I always had an eye on him and I wouldn't feel the guilt that किसी ने उसको pinch कर लिया होगा, कुछ मार दिया होगा. You know, these are such small things, pretty silly, but this plays in the mind of every mother. And there's one fear is you don't want to hurt your child. Second is what will the world think that तूने तेरे काम के लिए बच्चों को तकलीफ दिया type. So, you know, keeping all that guilt in your mind, I think that was that setup that I could do with everyone's support. And from then, my son has actually loved to sleep in the car, but not at home. So he's traveled so many kilometers with me that my elder one doesn't get a peaceful sleep as at home as much as in a car. So I think everything, my turning point was there, where you know he moved with me for kilometers. I had to manage his meals in between, but I had to travel with him. My everybody in my office knew that my son will enter first and then I would enter. So did make a mockery of myself for a while because that was not acceptable everywhere. But took a privilege, ignored the fact that anyway it's my office. If they have to deal with me, they have to deal with the situation. And gradually, I think they started to understand that anyway this is going to happen. The support started coming from within. The whole team started supporting me. If I had meetings, they would make sure that they would keep an eye on the child. They would play with him in that crash. I dedicated a couple of HR girls who would look after him across the day, not one, but three, four of them. Because you know, I would feel confident that one could mishandle, but four couldn't mishandle a child. So these kind of small things and support that came from internal staff also made a great difference to me. So believe me, when we look back, no, our parents push us, our parents make us feel guilty. It's because they want us to do best in every field. And that is what only as girls we can do because that's what is expected out of us, right? That we need to be everywhere. And I think that worked for me. That really worked for me.
Yes. And also I would say that, you know, a working mother, with her own business or family business and a working mother at a professional environment or setup, the flexibility of time, space, convenience that a family business can give, it's not possible when you work outside.
Absolutely.
And that's what a great advantage that, you know, most of us have who have our own family businesses. So again, very, very well said. Very quickly, and I cannot but to ask you this question is, you said you spent more than 14 years in the business. You've been married for many years now. Any crisis situation that has come ever in either your business or in your family? And if yes, what was it like? And what kind of role did you play? How did you manage the crisis?
So while I joined business in 2007-8, when I was just getting into FMB, I think we were stable. We kind of grew well. We were already in the four-wheeler industry and doing systematically or absolutely a settled kind of business. But yes, things started to take turns as me and my brother people started comparing us. My cousin, who was 4 years elder to me, joined business earlier with me. He was an engineer, I was from management student, and gradually because of my exposure then into studies and business, I was extremely outspoken, and he had a very different way of working, right? He was a little soft, or probably even his education was in a way where he was an engineer from a faraway institute where that kind of PR I would put in was missing. So, we started to get compared very closely, and things started to take turns, not in a very bad way, but family realized that as kids are growing and if they continue into business, there'll be comparisons and probably issues further. So in 2014, we decided to have a division very, very amicably because we had expanded well, and the ideas, the way of working that my uncle and my dad had were kind of collaborating with each other. But me and my cousin may not be because he was married with three girls and I was married with a son. So probably even the way forward would have been extremely different. And we were kind of being stagnant then. Nothing was going further, right? We would go to any kind of dealership franchisee telling them, we want a dealership, and they would tell us, हमको single hierarchy चाहिए. आगे चल के फैमिली में बहुत इश्यूज आते हैं, and if it is father to daughter, father to son, to further, that single line hierarchy works. Cross connect may not go well with us. This is when I was interviewing myself for a luxury brand, and that came back to us, and we realized that that was the need of an hour. 2014 we decided to divide, and very nicely we had a different format. I had met Parimal sir then, and we sat down with a couple of options, trying to know that was it the best way to do it. Even Menon sir kind of helped us in kind of valuation and stuff. So yes, doing that, we realized that for us it was very easy to take a step and think, "Acha, abhi to, I'll have my space," kind of thing. But back end, I saw dad and my uncle were very, very upset. They had started and grown only because they supported each other. They both were not best into everything. Both of them had very different kind of positives in them. Like my uncle was a lawyer, I mean LLB, studied his LLB, and he was at the back end. He was a support system. He was like the I would say the spine of the business. And my dad was the heart of the business, right? So this couldn't do without each other. And when this came up at 2014, my dad looked extremely nervous because, like any other parent, they thought, "लड़का है, वो तो संभाल ही लेगा. ये है, ये कर रही है." But you never know कल क्या होना है. It's a girl. She's in her house, right? अब कल उठ के दूसरा बच्चा हुआ, कुछ और हो गया. She may want to move on to her husband's business. What about me? I'll become alone and I'm going to age and I'll have no support system, and who's going to be my spine now, right? This is what change came, and this is where I think matured me a million times. I think while I did not believe in myself, he believed. All of a sudden, that same respect, that same comfort that he had with my uncle, he got it with me. He tried that more than I did, right? He put in everything across, saying that ab main sara cheez na, I will talk to you and do it. I will want to know your view whether I trust you or not. But किसी से बात नहीं करूंगा तो how will I take certain important decisions? I think the main grooming that I got was after this incident. It was given to me. It was said, "Ab tera hai, tu dekh kya karna hai." And that's when you start owning it. So after that, if somebody asks me, "Kab tak kaam karegi? Ab bachcho ka kya hoga?" I said, "I don't know. Bachcho ka I'll find a way, but this is my life now. I mean, it's on to me. If not me, this is all going to go berserk," right? So at right time, grooming me with that maturity, with an incident like this was amazing. I think that nailed it. That further, I have no option but to make it happen. Otherwise, I'm going to kill his reputation, his business, the money, the fame that he's got for himself.
Brilliant. I think, Nidhi, this is extremely, extremely inspirational, what you mentioned. And also you mentioned two very, very important points, which I personally also loved it, is, that outside, inside, it's always this understanding and acceptance. Yeah. And for we as a society, sometimes we may not have this understanding that a woman is capable to do things. Sometimes we have this understanding, but we do not accept it. At the same time, for a woman, she's aware that she's not being so easily accepted, probably because of gender bias or for many other reasons around. But all these interviews that we've conducted, these women have all changed their core. Inside their core, inside their mindset, they've become very strong. They've learned to face this, that, it's fine if we are not accepted initially. We will achieve that acceptance level. And I think that is what precisely the entire philosophy behind conducting these interviews is. So we are Asian Institute of Family Managed Business, and we are trying to bring out this awakening, this change of mindset. Those of you who would like to know more about us, please go to our YouTube channel, which is Women in Family Business by AIFMB. Please like the channel. If you want to be a part of it, please subscribe to our channel. Those of you who would like to contribute to us, contribute to our thoughts, please contact Ms. Sujata Roy. She can be reached on 98339 67687. Nidhi, it was absolute pleasure to have you. Extremely candid conversation, I must say, and I must appreciate that, because not many people are, so willing and open to discuss so many things. But I can assure you one thing, that your being so candid has only helped other young women to actually get more inspired. So thank you so much, Nidhi, for being here.
Thank you so much, sir. It's my pleasure.
And to all the viewers, as I mentioned before at the start of this session, the next sessions will henceforth happen at 11 a.m. every Sunday instead of 5 p.m. So stay tuned with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.